Hey guys, thanks for tuning into your weekly sky update. My name is Ashley and I'm a console operator and educator at the UNT Planetarium. As you can see, you're not tuning into our regular weekend live stream today because it's 4th of July. So we decided to do a pre-recorded video for you guys to enjoy today instead. So speaking of live streams, we at the UNT Sky Theater have gone completely online, which has been a really great experience, big learning curve, but it doesn't beat actually seeing you guys in person and doing our live shows, seeing the kids come in for their field trips, which all of that was a major source of our revenue. So we don't have any way to generate that revenue anymore. So if you guys really like our live streams, if you like our trivia nights on Wednesdays, please consider donating to UNT Sky Theater. The first so many people who donate $50 or more will receive a chondrite meteorite. I'll send to you in the mail. These meteorites were found by our Director of Astronomy, Ron DeLulio. So we really appreciate him giving us those meteorites to give to our donors. So if you're unable to donate at this time, please like and share our videos and our live streams to your friends and family or anyone who might enjoy astronomy. So now we're going to talk about astronomy. Our weekly update. Tonight, I want to show you what you can see in your sky. These objects I want to show you, you can see probably up until July 11th or so. That's when the sky or the night sky will kind of slightly change. It might be a little bit hard to see some of these things because it is summer, the atmosphere is hazy, the moon is also out for most of the night this week, and even though the moon is really pretty to look at, it does reflect a lot of that sunlight back to us here on Earth, and it kind of washes everything out behind it. So we'll do our best to look for these things in our real life sky. But let me show you where we can find them in our software called Stellarium. And Stellarium is a really cool program that you can download for free at stellarium.org. It is a program that we've been using in all of our live streams, and it's really helpful. It's really user-friendly. You can look up deep sky objects, you can track satellites, and you can do a whole lot more with it. So you'll see how just kind of how easy it is to use as we go throughout this program. All right, so I brought up the sky. This is what the sky should look like. Should look like around 10:30 tonight. The sun is going to stay up a bit longer because it is summer, so it is pushed back kind of late to 10:30 if you consider that late. But mostly if you're out looking at stars, you're probably out in the really early morning hours to see the really cool things. So obviously our sky doesn't look like this because of all of our light pollution. But I'll show you some objects we can see. Well, we can see our moon here. Our moon is our nice big bright full moon tonight. It is a full moon. So if I just double click on that, this also brought up the constellation that it's sitting in right now. So it is a full moon tonight. That's what it should look like if you had some good pair of binoculars or a telescope even in your backyard. So the moon we can use as a reference point, but we got to figure out even where the moon is in our sky as far as directions go. So we are going to use as an asterism to help us find where north is. It's a popular asterism that you guys have heard of. It's called the Big Dipper. An asterism is a modern name for a grouping of stars, which are going to be the brightest stars in the bigger constellation that it lives in. So the Big Dipper is just going to be right above our heads. It's pretty high in the sky right now. I'll give you guys a second to look for it. It's right here. So when I clicked on one of the stars, like I said, it brought up the whole constellation right there. So this whole constellation is Ursa Major, which means Big Bear, or it's in Latin for Big Bear. So the Big Dipper or the spoon is going to be kind of the behind of the Big Bear right here. What we look at is we actually look at the edge of the pot right here. These are called our pointer stars. So you can actually draw a straight line through those two stars to find where north is. So that is our northern star called Polaris, and Polaris lives in another asterism called the Little Dipper, which lives in the major constellation Ursa Minor. So we got Big Bear, we have Little Bear. Ursa Major looks, you can kind of picture a big bear in your imagination, but the little bear, not so much. He does definitely look like a little spoon, or he kind of looks like a squirrel with his tail stretched out right there. So a lot of these constellations have stories of why they are, why his tail is stretched out, but maybe we'll save that for another episode. We could talk about maybe some star stories. All right, so now that we know where north is, I want to bring these guys down. So north is actually behind us. So we're going to look back down. We know north is behind us, so we're actually facing south here in, not in our planetarium, but I guess in our little virtual planetarium here, right? So we want to look in the southern sky, because most of the things that we're going to look at, most of the action happens in our southern sky. Like the moon is right here, it's up in the southern sky. We can use the moon as a reference point when it's out. Like tonight, the moon is going to be out in the constellation Sagittarius, right here. So Sagittarius is a zodiacal constellation. Zodiacal meaning it's a zodiac sign, and it refers to astrology. So not to confuse astrology with astronomy, because astrology is where you go and get your horoscope. But it has nothing to do with science. I don't want to bash astrology, because I respect astrology in a way that it's kind of like the history or the beginning of astronomy. But it has nothing to do with the science itself. So Sagittarius looks like a teapot. When the moon isn't out, it's easier to see the teapot. So you can kind of see a little teapot right here. You got the handle of the teapot, and then here's the top of it, and here is the spout of the teapot. It's also an asterism. So if I can actually bring up the asterisms. I can't bring up one at a time. It just kind of brings up all of them. But here is the asterism for Sagittarius right here. It looks like a teapot. All right, so Sagittarius is not a teapot, obviously. He's actually a centaur, which is a half man, half horse. So if you don't, I can only see a teapot. And once I bring up the artist's illustration of it, you can see Sagittarius right there. So Sagittarius was a hunter. He has a bow and arrow. He's actually hunting down another constellation right next door to him. So he's hunting down a scorpion right here. So this is a Scorpius, or Scorpio the scorpion. The major star in his constellation is Antares, and he is the heart of the scorpion, as you can see. It is a big, bright red star. Not as big and bright as, let's say, Betelgeuse from Orion, when Orion is out in the winter. He's going to be smaller, but he will be bright, and he will be flickering really, really fast in the sky. So, yeah, so Sagittarius and Scorpius also come with a really neat story that we'll have to talk about another time. So let's go back to the moon here. We're going to go back to use the moon as a reference point. And right next to the moon, just right over here, is going to be it looks like a super bright star. In fact, this software kind of over-exaggerates the size of it. It almost looks like about half the size of the moon, but that's not the case. It's just showing that it's a really bright star. And this star is actually not a star, but it is a planet. It is planet Jupiter. Jupiter has been out for quite a while, actually. It looks like a big bright star, but the way you can tell the difference between a star and a planet is that planets do not twinkle and stars do. So that nursery rhyme, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, when you were little, believe it or not, you're actually being a scientist. So Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is true. Stars twinkle, planets do not, okay? So it'll just be like this steady ball of light in the sky. So the cool thing also about this program, if I just center Jupiter right there, we can zoom into Jupiter and get a look of its features. You can see all of the swirling clouds. And if you were to look at through your telescope tonight, this is exactly what Jupiter would look like. In fact, the planets that you see in this program, when you zoom into them, that's how they will look like in real time, as if you were looking through a telescope. I'm not sure if you can see the red spot, I think my recording software, it's not really capturing my mouse, so I can't really point to it, but it's off to the left side of the planet. His little red spot is starting to come up. So if you were to watch this throughout the night with your telescope, you can actually see the red spot coming into view. It's starting to rise. Also, when you back out, you'll see a few more little spots here. These are his Galilean moons, or the Galilean moons rather. These are just the moons that were founded by Galileo Galilei. I want to click on Io because Io is one of my favorite moons in the solar system. You can actually zoom in into Io. Maybe not with your telescope at home, but with the software you can. You can actually zoom in Io and look at his features. Io is one of the most pretty moons, I think, because of his sulfur-rich surface. That's what gives him his yellow color, because he's very volcanically active. So that's what creates those sulfur hills and mountains. All right, so enough about Jupiter, because there's another planet out right next door to Jupiter. Zoom all the way out. There we go. So right next to Jupiter is Saturn. So Saturn is going to look kind of yellowy in the sky. Saturn is not going to be as bright, not as big or bright as Jupiter up in the sky. It'll look like a small star. But just know that right next to Jupiter is going to be Saturn. And even, again, if you had a telescope, you'll be able to actually look and view his rings. All right, so those are some of the planets that are up right now. There's going to be more planets if you stay up really early, throughout the night or really early in the morning. Some more planets will start popping up. Well, let me show you a few more constellations and another asterism that we can see in our sky. So the next constellation I'm going to be pointing at is going to be Lyra the Harp. And this is a very bright star. So this is the Alpha star in Lyra the Harp. His name is Vega. So Vega is a blue-white star. He's very bright. So since he's blue, that means he's actually going to be very, very hot. Compared to, let's say, Antares, who is an orange or like a red star. So red stars are going to be a bit cooler than the blue stars. When I say cooler, I don't mean, oh, we can get up really close to it or anything. They're still extremely hot. They're just cooler. So the blue star is going to be very, very hot. The distance is around 25 light years away. So he's actually relatively pretty close if we're talking about astronomical distances. He's a very close star. So he is a very fascinating star because he rotates really, really fast, this star. If he were to rotate just a bit faster, he would also tear himself apart. A lot of these stars who rotate really, really fast are not nice round spherical stars, but they're like football-shaped stars. And a lot of the time, if they do end up rotating a little bit faster, they would kill themselves, or they would tear themselves apart. So it's a good thing that Vega doesn't rotate any faster than he does. All right, so Lyra is actually a harp, or he just kind of looks like another little dipper. But here is his constellation art to give you a good idea of what he looks like. All right, so the next star. Oh, by the way, this is going to be towards the east. So we have Sagittarius, Scorpius in the south, and then Lyra is going to be in the east. So we're going to do a little star hopping here. The next star I'm going to hop to is this star right here, Deneb. So Deneb is in the constellation Cygnus, and he is a swan, as you can see. He does look a little bit more swan-like, kind of like a big cross in the sky. But yeah, so Deneb is going to be similar to Vega, but Deneb is another blue-white star, but it's a supergiant blue-white star, so very, very large. So this star is going to be around 1,400 light years away, much bigger he's much further, but he's actually much bigger, so he's still a very bright star to us. So this star right here, Deneb, possibly could turn into a red supergiant star. So I guess you could compare it to Betelgeuse and Orion. So once he gets older, he's going to cool and he's going to expand very, very large. So if you were to replace our sun with Deneb, Deneb would actually end up reaching out to Earth's orbit. That's how big this star is. So yeah, really cool star. All right, so the next star we're going to jump to is just right down here. So this is Altair in Aquila the Eagle. So Aquila the Eagle is actually UNT's, well, I should say our mascot is an eagle, but Aquila here at Sky Theater is our constellation mascot. So Altair is the brightest star in Aquila the Eagle. So Altair is actually a main sequence star, so similar to kind of our sun in the main sequence category. He is he's a lot closer, he's around 17 light years away. And it's another star that also rotates very fast. So our sun rotates about every 25 days. It spins every 25 days. Altair actually rotates every 9 hours. So that's extremely fast for a star. As you know, stars are much more massive than planets. So if you have something super massive spinning really fast, it's also going to kind of be oblate and be football shaped. So it's another football star. All right, so there is Altair. Here is the constellation art for these three constellations. The three brightest stars are going to be high above in our sky. You should be able to see them because these three stars make up another asterism called the Summer Triangle. So it's going to be like a big triangle up in our sky. Also bring up the asterism, the triangle right here. You can see the triangle traced out there, connecting those three stars. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this update of our nighttime sky. These are going to be some really popular constellations out all summer. You'll probably get a better view of these stars when the moon isn't so bright at night. But just remember, we have Scorpius, Antares, with the big, or I should say the little fast blinking red star. You have the moon and Sagittarius tonight. Don't forget to look for Jupiter and Saturn right next to the moon, and then look for that big triangle up in our sky, our summer triangle, that connects Vega, Deneb, and Altair. Alright, so we hope to see you back here on Wednesday when we have our trivia night on Wednesday, where we're doing it's science, or I should say not astronomy, but it's science in movies and pop culture. So I'll be doing that on Wednesday along with my co-host Kate. So I hope to see you guys there on Wednesday at 7 p.m. All right, you guys have a wonderful 4th of July.